Do you wish you could get virtual attendees to turn their cameras on? Is engagement the number one issue on your virtual meetings? Do you want your meeting to be the most engaging virtual meeting? Well, welcome to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. In this podcast, we'll talk to the top people around the world in virtual meetings and give you, the listener, the best ideas to host engaging virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Now, let's welcome your host, the author of the #1 Amazon hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings, John Chen. Happy almost Thanksgiving, at least for those of you here in the United States. What's on my good list? Well, I recently, I'm the president-elect for the National Speakers Association. Very excited about that, and got back from the Chapter Leaders Institute in Minneapolis, where I got to meet 50 of the chapter leaders around the world. It's nothing more amazing than getting 50 paid professional speakers into one building. I also got to finish one of the journeys that I've been excited about, but tried to do in 2020 and failed, where we were going to go to my daughter's graduation and visit Paisley Park, which is Prince's private residence in Minnesota, and it was an amazing tour. Last but not least, I flew home so I could also help with a charity gala for Dandelion Drama with my good friend DC Evans, and we're proud to announce that through the emceeing and auctioneering that we did, we were able to raise $35,000 for drama programs for youth, and some of them who have disabilities. So that's really cool and inspiring work. All right, our next guest here is really academically trained in engineering, philosophy, and the intersection of science and spirit. She's going to bring us a wealth of knowledge and information about our process, which I'm super excited about. Let's bring in our guest today, the one and only Gina Mollicone.
Hi, everybody.
Gina is, of course, Canadian. Is that correct?
Of course, he says. Of course she is.
Okay. I should put an A in there somewhere. Gina, where do you hail from in the great country of Canada?
Well, up until recently, it was Whistler, very close to you, but we've since moved to Toronto, and we are gearing up for the American Thanksgiving holiday.
Celebrated in Toronto is kind of
sure. I mean, I think Black Friday has become this global thing. I don't know if everybody knows it's a Thanksgiving related thing, but it's alive and well here as well.
Well, I'm writing my email right now for Black Friday, right? So yeah. It is alive and well. All right.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. It's like get on the bus or get left behind.
Well, speaking of getting on the bus, let's get on the bus here and let's find out. For my friends who don't know you, Gina, do us a favor. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, you know what? What gets me out of bed in the morning is the fact that everyone has greatness in them. So my catchphrase is to reveal greatness. But what I do more simply is I help people get what they want faster and with less effort than they may be currently expending. So I do that through a combination of mind mechanics, different mechanisms. As you said in my amazingly, I love that short bio, the intersection of mind and matter. So I help people realize they're more than just these breakthroughs happen. These breakthroughs to the next level happen when you realize you're a little bit more spirit and a little bit less matter. So I write books about that. I talk about that. I speak all over the world about that. And we teach other coaches how to use those mechanisms so that they can help their clients get their change faster and with less effort.
Okay. So how'd you get into speaking? I'm just kind of curious about a lot of speaker genesis stories.
Oh, I was born pretty much. That was it. It is, I have Mercury in Sagittarius, if that's your thing. I was born speaking and I was born teaching, and I was, even as a kid, when I didn't know what things were, I was talking, organizing, presenting. It's just what I did. I was my grade 8 valedictorian. I was my high school valedictorian, but I didn't know that was a thing. I just like to talk. But since moving along in life, I've learned that generally what we loved to do when we were kids is a very good platform for what we should do for the rest of our lives, or how we should dedicate ourselves in service to others. And so, I use my vocal cords and my meat flaps to help bring information to people that will help them get something for their lives. That's what I do with it now. But I have spent a lot of time studying and cultivating that craft so that the information that comes through me gets to the intended audience with as little distortion as possible.
Hmm. Okay, let me just check too. Like in lower grade schools, right? Did it ever show up on your report that you talked too much?
Not so much like that, because I was also an extremely sort of teachery pet kind of person, but multiple times in my life I was told that I was just like, could I just tone it down? I was a bit too much, right? So I've since decided to lean into that. And for those of you that have maybe been told that in your lives, yes, you are, and you should be, and you should get out there and help the people that need a hand up. Give them a little bit of your too muchedness. And so, yeah, I definitely wasn't really told to be quiet. Well, I did ask a lot of questions. That's not that. Yeah, probably I had teachers going like, "Oh my God."
Okay, what's either the most unique or deep question you've either asked or been asked? Here, I'll give you an example. Like, what was
Okay.
one of the? Oh, so one of them on my friend's cards. Jan Keck has a great conversation set of cards, and his said, "What did you learn from your last failed relationship?" Ooh,
Well, okay, this is amazing that you're asking me this question. And I'll tell you, can I tell you like a little bit why this is so blowing my mind? So
please.
I have a son in university right now, and he's a budding entrepreneur.
Yeah,
And they started a business over the summer in this entrepreneur program that they were in
yeah.
that does this exact thing. It asks deep questions every day. It's called Ponder, and they're still in a little bit of a, you know,
Startup phase.
yeah, startup phase big time. But the idea, is that we ask deep questions. And so it's amazing that you're asking me this. So in my experience with that, one of the ones was, if you could um, go back and do something over again,
Mhm.
right? What would you do? And when I thought about that, because we always have these like regrets, or, oh, I wish I didn't do that, or whatever.
Yeah.
I had a really hard time because of this butterfly effect, because if you change that one thing that you did, so this is why the question was so deep, not because my answer was particularly stunning. It was more like, well, but if I change that, then that never happens. And then that never happens, and that never happens. And so I ask this question when I'm teaching, whenever I start a training, right? I always say to people, how many of you realize that everything you do is your choice? And, some people say yes, some people say no. And then I'll say, okay, I want you to think about every choice you've ever made in your entire life, leading to the moment where you are right now, sitting in the chair that you're in, right? Right now, you wouldn't be in that chair in this room at this time if all those choices hadn't led to this moment. So if I go back and change something, well, I regret hurting that person, or I didn't win this prize, or I would have said this differently, it would mean that where I am now is no longer where I am now. And so I had to actually say I wouldn't, even though I've been through, hell and back, so to speak. And there are lots of things in my life that I wouldn't choose on a menu if given the choice. Um,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
run through a meadow, run through hell, right? Like, but that being said, every choice I've ever made has put me here. And so I have to trust the process.
Yeah.
So that's the deep answer to my not so deep
Well, it's a
answer.
great deep answer. I mean, this is kind of multiverse stuff, which is, around that. Well,
It's
that's
my
one.
jam.
And the second one that I love to tell entrepreneurs too, especially if you have even failed as an entrepreneur, that quite often everything that you've ever done has set you up for this next thing that's coming up.
You're speaking to the author of The Secret of Successful Failing. So all I can do is completely agree with you and tell you that, every step that you're taking, like I just was shown an amazing video yesterday of a triple jumper who, his name escapes me right now, Jonathan something
Hmm?
Edwards, from the UK, whose story is remarkable. I mean, he 4 Olympics in his first Olympics, which whatever was before Barcelona, he came 35th. And then in Barcelona, he came 32nd. And then all of a sudden in Atlanta, he won the silver. And then all of a sudden in Sydney, he wins the gold. Now, I got to tell you, how many of you would keep doing triple jump after 2 Olympic showings, not even in the top 20, 30? Right? This guy keeps going. And the person that was showing it to me yesterday was sort of making the point, like, failure isn't fatal. Right. And so just keep going. And what a great story. I can't believe I've never heard of that. I'm a motivational speaker. That's embarrassing.
So, well, I want to talk about your book, and I want to know, have you watched Naiad?
I just, okay. So I'm a mixed, because there's some heaviness in it, but yes, it's on my list of things to do on the plane tomorrow.
I can tell you that I watched it. I think whether or not you love the story or not, you will certainly love the aspect of failing and succeeding.
Right. And that's why, about 10 people who, they all know who I am. They're like, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. So yeah, that's on my list of things to do. But one person sort of said there's a bit of a heaviness to it. So just prepare yourself.
I think the heaviness is what makes the movie. So let's talk about this. Speaking of making it, The Secrets of Successful Failing. Is this your first or your second book?
That was my first book.
Okay. So what led you to writing it? Well, like every book also has a genesis, like
face down in the mud, just straight up, right? Face down in the mud. Me. Yeah, of course.
Say more.
And so, well, the story of this book is it's pretty cool. So, all my life, I've kind of been good at most things that I try. I'm very determined. And, if I wasn't good at it at first, I just, I'm like, I brag that I'm the world's best intramural athlete. Right. So I can kind of do everything because I never give up. But there I was as a new mom of 2 little children, 2 babies, really. And I was just not. And so I face down in the mud, and I just kind of said to my husband, like, I got to do something here because everything's impossible and it's coloring my whole world. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I made a list of everything I considered to be impossible, sort of like the impossible category, right? And mother, being a good mom, a new mom or whatever, was in there. And so my theory is, if I could just get something in that list to be proven untrue, then I could blow the boundary on the whole list. So I chose to run a marathon, which was extremely impossible for me. And my husband was like, no, literally anything else, please, no. Well, because I ran a half marathon years before, my knees blew up and it was a nightmare, and I'm very slow and just very painful to watch. Yep. So I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. And he was like, oh my God. And so over the course of, training for this marathon, I mean, it was super embarrassing. I signed up for a running club, one of these running clubs where you run with the bunny. Yeah. And I was so slow that I could barely run with the walkers, but I didn't want to run with the walkers because I was running. So then I had to train by myself. And then I met this training partner, who was amazing. And it was just, this whole thing was just serendipity. And the race was in San Francisco, which, if you're familiar with the topography of San Francisco, not the best place for your first marathon. So I certainly was making it, I was working for it. And so I was running this marathon, and long story short, I thought I was kicking this race's ass, and my ego started to get all involved. And around, it was 9, 26, 17 miles. So I saw my husband, he was biking all over the place. He was like, you got this. I'll see you at the finish line. I'm going to go, because our friends are with 4 kids under the age of 3. And so he took off, and I started to climb this hill. And this is the American Canadian thing coming through full. They're like, don't worry, it's only just over a mile long hill. You'll be fine. And in my mind, I wanted a mile and a kilometer to be the same thing. And they are not.
They are not.
And not even close. So my wheels started to fall off around the kilometer mark. And anyway, and then I got passed by like an 80-year-old woman. I mean, it was absolutely, it was just like on Looney Tunes when they just keep beating you. And so I got to the top of this hill and I hit the wall and I couldn't move. And I was just sobbing and I was frozen and I couldn't move. And my husband happened to be there and he wasn't supposed to be there. And he's like, what happened? And I was like, right. You know how women are in that state. I was just like totally, and he was, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. He didn't say anything. So he just kind of stood on his bike behind me and he started to read my shirt. And I'd been raising money because it was a team and training event where you had to like raise money to be in the race.
Yeah.
So the way that I had raised money, I think I talked to you about this earlier, was I love efficiency. So I sent out one email, 5 sponsorship thresholds, and the most popular option was people gave me $100, got their name on my shirt, right? $1,000 got you a phone call from the finish line and so on. But I had quite a few numbers on my shirt, names on my shirt. And he started reading random names of people he didn't know. And he's like, you know, who's that? And who's that? And all of a sudden it hit me. There's like 57 people on my shirt who think I can do this, who didn't even hesitate to give me the money. You know, my mom could call me because she'd run a marathon. My dad gave me some money. Like everybody thought I could do it. So I was the only one who didn't. And that was stupid. Right?
But wait. That's genius stupid. And here's the reason why, right? Because those 57 become the motivation for this next part of the story, right?
Unbelievable. So I literally just let go of the belief. Like I describe it as kind of like flicking it off my shoulder, but I just let go of the belief. It was gone forever. And all of my resources returned. So I was no longer frozen. My body wasn't cramped. Like I could move again. I could talk, you know, and I just started running and I 9 miles to go. And I just finished it. And so then I wrote this book and then I kind of like, well, I didn't really write it. I kind of had this idea for this book. Mm-hmm. And then a friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer. We were young. And so up until this point, you know, aside from being a closet speaker and like high school valedictorian speeches and whatnot, it wasn't really my thing. I was, you know, working at Procter and Gamble and advertising. And so I said to her, okay, I got to tell you all these things. And there are all these things I've learned in life and all these techniques I've learned and all these mechanisms. I have an engineering background, so I kind of just mapped it over to the human being. And I'm going to tell you all these things and you can discard it all. But if I don't tell you, I can't live with myself. So if it saves your life, great. But it's like my own guilt I'm trying to assuage here. Right. Yeah. So kind of just went bleh, like a fire hose. And she called me up 2 days later and she said, you know, 3 things happened after you told me that. 1, it was like being hit with a fire hose. 2, I stopped crying and made a plan. And 3, I realized you have to write this book because you just have to put it out there. And if people don't want to hear it, they don't have to read it.
Yeah.
And I was like, darn it. So I turned around and wrote the book in like 2 weeks. And that was that.
2 weeks.
Well, it was sitting there. You have to understand it was sitting there.
No, I just did, but it took the 2 weeks to still putting it on page in 2 weeks is a pretty phenomenal.
5,000 pages or 5,000 words a day until I had 50,000 words. And that was it. And, you know, I look back at it now and, you know, I want to light it on fire, but because it was my first book and, you know, my second one was so much better and I was going to fix everything. Now I look at the second one and think I really got to write a third one. But the whole idea was maybe what happens in life is highlighting what isn't going to work for the rest of your life, right? So this is what I teach people. You only have problems with the programs that are broken. You don't have problems with the programs that are working. So, and the programs that are broken need to be upgraded or replaced or, you know, like who's still using CorelDRAW, right? Like
Lotus 1, 2, 3 or something. Let's go.
Right. Remember?
Right.
Like, right. So I remember when I was working at Procter and Gamble back in my corporate days, we were always, you know, we always had the latest software or whatever, but there was always those people that went to the mall and waited for the launch of the next office or whatever, right? Like, you know, they do iPhones now. People don't believe me. This is how they used to launch software.
Software.
And
well,
so
I worked at Microsoft, so like when Windows 95 came out, was
remember?
The biggest circus I've ever seen.
Right. That was when I was working at P&G. And right. So somebody would obviously go get something and then they'd send you the document in the new version. And back then there was no compatibility. So you couldn't open it. And I always say to people, what's the obvious solution? Just go out and get the right program so you can open the document. people would say to me, "Oh, I get it." Like, sure, you could yell at the guy for sending it to you, but still not going to get the document open. You could blame him. You could book a session with a counselor. You could whip your computer out the window, but none of that's going to address your problem, which is the program is no longer working in your environment. So just upgrade the program. And and I want people to get this. When something's not working in your life, there's nothing wrong with you. There's just something wrong with the program or the strategy or the steps that you're taking. You're trying to shove a square peg into a now round hole. That's it. So it really, and then sure, you got to let go of this and do that. And that's change. And people don't necessarily like change, but that's kind of how we work.
Right.
So, what happened to me in that marathon was a very manual way of replacing a belief.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
what I do is I shortcut things for people because you don't have to go out and run a marathon and be face down in the mud to get that learning. Right now, we have techniques for that. That's why I do what I do.
Well, the fun part is I got a chance to meet Stu Middleman. He's an ultra marathoner. He did 1,000 miles in 11 days. He also did 52 miles a day for 56 days for his 40th birthday. He ran from California to New York to Central Park. And one of the parts that actually they talk about is that you actually want the grandma to pass you because what you do is you want your body to burn fat instead of sugar or carbohydrates so that you can actually go for these long distance of time. I actually used it and finished the Seattle Marathon, and I'm not really a runner, right? But I did finish the Seattle Marathon. I think it all leads to this too. I think you'll appreciate this belief. Uh, I've heard change happens in a heartbeat, but often it takes a whole bunch of stuff to happen, right, for you to decide. Is that
See
your
how it
model
says
back
hell
there?
here? You see how it says hell here?
Oh,
Most
that's
people
hell?
spend their time. C is the point of change. See how it's an inflection point?
Right.
Right. But it's that period. This is not to scale. Right. Because
You need the other part too, right? Some objects may be closer than they actually are. Speaking of objects closer than they really are too, I really want to get into the secrets of successful failing happened in the last 3 years.
yes.
The pandemic is one, right? And I would really love to hear, since you also have these key skills in what did you fail in virtual, right? And what do you do to create rapport in virtual meetings now? I would just love
Oh,
to hear your version.
I love your question. So, yes, just in case it's not clear, when you run a corporate development training, personal training, and team building company, March of 2020 represented zero. So, some people have like bad quarters or bad years, but when your entire company is reduced to nothing, it's like, wow, I'm willing to do anything. So we did exactly that. We took all of our NLP trainings and we put them online. And up until that point, I told you this earlier, I had been saying, I don't think it can be done because for decades, people have been saying to me, you should do these trainings online. It's really hard to travel. And I go, no, no, no. Well, it's amazing how necessity is the mother of invention.
Ta-da!
So, but we practiced a lot for that first training. We had 57 coaches in that first training. And we teach rapport. So when we teach our NLP trainers training, we teach speakers, some of the best speakers in the world, how to flow in. I said this earlier, how to have information flow without distortion. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because people think speaking is about you. It's not, unless you're, somebody famous. You're a conduit of teaching or learning or comedy or whatever. And the more that you can get your ego out of the way, the better. And so there are a lot of techniques that you can do to create rapport. And in a live audience, we would do, if you can get people in sync in a live audience. So if you've ever been to a personal development weekend, right? And you got the dancers on the stage, or everybody's doing this, or, they're doing the, whatever that dance is called. Once about 80% of the room is doing the same thing, then it creates a connection.
Right.
And then you as the speaker share that connection. And so now you can translate that connection backwards.
Let me help too for our guests who don't know, right? Gina's trained in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. And I've also got to hang out with one of your good friends, Tony Robbins, to learn a lot of it in what I do too. And so those are the things. And the secret behind what she was just talking about is matching and mirroring. When you can get a whole bunch of people, this is why singing is so powerful. This is why dancing is still so powerful for humans. When you get everybody to do the same thing, we actually start to feel like we are connected to each other, which
Right.
is
We could do it right now.
right.
There's
Yeah.
people watching this live, right? If you and I do the same thing, so let's just take a deep breath, right? And then let it go. All the stress is out. Let's do one more for Thanksgiving, just to get rid of that extra Thanksgiving stretch, right? And then let it go. Now we're in rapport. Yeah. And you mentioned Tony Robbins. So we're all trained in the same thing, right?
Yeah. Breathing is one of the most powerful ways to get people in rapport.
100%. And that's like true in all places. So wherever there are humans, they're usually breathing. And if you can match and mirror their breathing, you can get in rapport. So we had to recreate that in the virtual environment. So what we had to do was take our skills and see if we could translate them. Yeah. Right. So we had to do a lot more. Get up, everybody get up, here, I'll show you. So I think I can do it. We had, how do you, no, we can't do it here. We would do virtual high tens with the hands. So we would do, because normally I do like lots of high tens and high fives and lots of energy, right? Get people up, running around their room. I do a lot of different little techniques, pow, 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 so that people feel like they're part of something. Oh, the other thing that we did, I'll give you this. Now, I know it's not virtual, but in our physical training rooms, we have coffee and tea, like most people do. But we also have squares of dark chocolate, and everybody loves this. And I don't know why, because you can literally buy it anywhere. But so what we did was, for every participant of our course, we sent them a box of coffee, a box of tea, and a box of these square chocolates. Yeah. And when we had breaks, we all had the same everything.
Yes.
So it was these kinds of things that helped us get through that pivot, for sure. For sure.
You'll love this one here, which is so what? Turn your hands out this way. Now high five me.
Oh, I love it.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So you get a whole room. You can get like a whole, screen of 49 people, and they're all high fiving the people next.
That was worth everything we just did right now. Like you mentioned, Tony Robbins. We're trained in the same things. The only difference is he doesn't teach people NLP anymore, right? He teaches his programs, but we still do, because we just teach the base mechanisms. Do whatever you want with them. That was awesome. I gotta do that.
Yeah. And here's a secret one. You'll love this too, Gina. I don't know if you tried this one, but this one seemed to work. We discovered it by accident. So of course, the kids like to make a heart. So make a heart.
Okay.
Now take the heart and push it past your camera.
Okay.
And then branch out like that.
Oh, cool.
And then sometimes we ask people how many people felt something, and like a good portion of the room, of course, all our good friends, the empaths, are like, "Oh my God, that's the first time I felt something since March of 2020."
Wow.
So
one of the other things we teach people is from the Institute of Heart Math. So I don't know if you know Heart Math, but Heart Math has a number of techniques to create heart-brain coherence. And so we do these techniques, and then we do this process where we actually actively send it out.
Yes.
So from the heart, and we send it to the other people that are in the virtual room. Mm-hmm. And they claim, right, that they feel that reception.
Yes.
So,
well, look, I feel like this gets into the quantum physics side, which says that people can feel connected together no matter where they are, no matter how far they are.
Hence the intersection of mind and matter. Right.
So say more. What is now your understanding of mind and matter?
So we are, obviously, you're there and I'm here, and you're physical and I'm physical, and this is real and that's real. And yet there's a whole bunch you can see behind my shoulder. It usually says equals MC squared, right? So that's the master equation, because what Einstein did was he brought together two concepts that had been separate in a silo, right? So energy and matter are equivalent. Yes, by the factor of the speed of light squared. I got it. But they're the same thing. And if they're the same thing and you're trying to change something material, then it stands to reason that if you change it where it's not material, it will go faster and with less effort, right? If I always say to people, if you have a table and it's kind of crooked, you can sit there and saw one leg and saw another leg and saw another leg and saw another leg, and eventually you might get a table. But if you go back to the design and you fix the measurement that was off, then the next table will be perfectly level. And so that's how your mind works. By the time it's out in your physical reality, it's finished, it's cooked, it's solid. And it started when it wasn't. And so why we promise people faster and with less effort is because NLP, timeline therapy. So neurolinguistic programming is sort of like, think about it like your conscious thought processes. And timeline therapy is for your emotional processes. And hypnosis is for your physiological processes. But they all do the same thing. What they do is they allow you to tinker with the programs that aren't working and make them work for what you want now versus what you wanted yesterday. And they make it go faster and with less effort because you don't have to run a marathon, freeze up, and go through that whole thing. You can just access the belief through your processes, right? It can be done. I didn't know though back then.
All right. Well, okay. Well, you love to talk about the future. So I'd love to hear, now that you've gone through these last 3 years and the virtual world. I love too that you went from not possible to like, we're doing this every day, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like I used to have this phrase. Oh, and when I ran the marathon, on my shirt, I wrote, I am possible. Like I'm, impossible, but I just put a apostrophe in it. Yeah. So we used to say people, we turn the impossible into possible. Like that was one of our earlier catchphrases, right? Was back then. And so, what are we going to create? Well, it was my birthday 2 days ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
And it was the greatest birthday I've ever had. And it was the simplest birthday I've ever had. It was like, just my family, they made a cake. It was just amazing. And one of the things I said to them was, what we're going to create going forward, it can't be, people say, oh, I want to get back to the way it was, right? I want to get back to the good old days, or, before the lockdowns or whatever. I want to get back to that. But the thing is, we can't go back to that because, what that did was brought us to where we are now. So if we go back to that, so what you want to go back through another of the last 3 years? Like, are you crazy?
You end up going backwards to a place. And there are some things now you go back and actually we're not that good. Well, the other part I hopefully people recognize is that people took for granted in-person live events.
Right.
And what I tell people now too, like you and I now have gone, and the rest of us have gone through this thing that may never happen again in the lifetimes of a lot of people.
I would hope so.
Right. Well, and we hope so, although we don't know. Right. And I'm saying that's what you're going to take to go forward. So I think hopefully one of the things that people will take away is like right now, if you can meet with your family, if you can meet in person, right, how much of a treasure it really is.
Right.
Not for
things
granted.
We used to take for granted. So like super weird, best birthday ever. But, I saw this post by someone called Sarah Zula. It just popped through my feed and I sent it to my family because, it's been a lot to handle, right? Like people have had to change things. And, I have this saying in one of my books, I think it's Think or Sink. If someone doesn't want to change, there's nothing you can do to change them. And if someone wants to change, there's nothing you can do to stop them. So the last 3 years for people who are resistant to change, it would have been very difficult, right? And so I want to read this post because it was amazing. And I want to just share it with people because I think we need to hear it. There's a massive change for the better happening on the planet right now. The change won't be on the news and it hasn't gone viral. And if you don't look for it, you won't even notice that it's happening. The change is quietly happening in the hearts of humanity. People are realizing that we become what we focus our attention on. And we influence this reality based on who we become. So people are realizing that fighting is senseless and focusing on chaos is futile. It just makes more chaos. Rather, people are quietly focusing on creating their version of heaven on earth now. They are healing themselves and focusing on creating more beauty. People have realized that awakening to their own divinity is what protects them from any manipulation and allows them to become the change that they want to see. It's sweeping through the nations, but it's hard to notice. However, its strength is growing in numbers, not strength in numbers to fight, because fighting only breeds more fighting. It's strength in numbers to create such a beautiful world that it will be obvious for others to join, to the point where one day they will hold a war and no one will come. The frequencies of war and greed and manipulation will no longer be able to exist in a reality full of sovereign awakened beings living connected to their divinity. Now, that comes from not my feed, right? That comes from her feed. But, and let's just give her credit. So at Sarah Zula, that came off of her feed. And I read this and I was weeping because that's what's available right now, right? We have the opportunity to, people always say to me, what do I do? There's so much stress. There's so much chaos. And I'm like, okay, you ready? Okay, do what I do. That's it. And like the monkeys, and just withdraw your attention. Just withdraw it and put it on, this. I can't get my eyes off your background, right? With the beautiful snow and the fireplace, and put your attention on what makes you laugh and what makes you love. And people say, oh, I got to know the news. Do you? Here. So, something exploded, somebody died. Like, it's the same, right? So do you? Right? People are like, oh, I got to know what's going on in the world. Like, I've been all over the world in the last few months and I'm disconnected most of the time. And I still found out about things that were going on in the world. So it's okay. You don't need to plug in to that.
I feel like Men in Black, when you go like, what going on in the world? Whose world? What about the world like that's between your ears?
The most expensive real estate on earth, right there.
So how about you spend some time doing that as opposed to the external world, of which for the most part you have no control over.
Right? Like we don't, but the control we have, and this is the paradox, the control is inside. And if we teach, and this is you asked me to introduce myself at the beginning, it's sort of towards the end. What gets me out of bed in the morning is if I help one more person become more resilient in their own life.
Yes.
Right. Then I actually contribute to a world that's more resilient. So I could take a private client, because I do some private client coaching, obviously. And maybe I sort of limit myself to like a dozen people a year. So that's 12 people. Or I can teach the coaches who coach those people, and they can reach the people that they coach. And then they reach those people that they coach. And then they reach the people in their lives. And it's like that. Was it a Pert shampoo commercial? And then you tell two friends,
and so on, and so on, and so on.
So that's how I have impact, is by teaching these skills to a few people who then go on and teach it to others. And at some point there will be a critical mass web of people who can handle change, who thrive in it, who seek it out, and who can up level every time it happens, like a video game, right? That's kind of how I look at it sometimes, just in case they're right.
Going back to this Dandelion drama program, it was really great. In the middle of this gala, they have 8 people who come in and they sing Seasons of Love, right? From Rent.
Yeah.
And multiple of them I'm not sure for sure, but I believe they were autistic. And it was so great to have a program that allows them to become performers and actors. Actually, there's a really cool stat. The Nobel laureates, right? Nobel laureates are 20 times more likely to be actors.
Really?
Yes, because of I think there's like the polymorph, like the different of learning different skills allows them to be like that and to think different. And so I would just love to hear from you, Gina. Like, if people are listening to this interview, what's the one thing that you want them to remember or take away from this particular podcast?
I think everything you need for your life to thrive, to have the life that you could, dream about, is already inside of you. You don't need anything. you need to get rid of what prevents you from accessing it. That is what you need. So it's already there. You don't need anything from the outside. I know we're all going to do Black Friday sales, but you don't need it. You need to learn how to remove what prevents you. Rumi said, do not seek for love. Instead, seek for the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
Beautiful, Gina. And of course, it's Thanksgiving. What are you really thankful for this year in the 2023?
Honestly, I have such an amazing family, and we've been through so much in the last 3 years. And if any of them are listening and they know who they are, I'm so grateful for, and we don't always get along, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
But we have the capacity to handle our conflicts in respectful ways and up-level our own. Like we just had this amazing dialogue over my birthday, and there was people were yelling, but it was like a good yelling. It was like like an engaged, active. You're pushing my boundaries, but I'm listening, yelling, and I'm so grateful for those people that I'm surrounded with, and they know who they are, and I'm just, and my dog, oh my God, my dog.
Well, Gina, here, I'll give this shout out too. It's so funny. This is for all my brothers and sisters who, of course, we're going to see on Thanksgiving on our own Zoom call. And what I love to tell people about our family is, like, we're not the family that calls each other every day, but we're almost better in a crisis than we are in a normal situation.
Oh,
and so
nice.
one crisis was with my mom, and we had doctors and nurses that came back and told us we have never seen a family of 5 brothers and sisters make decisions the way you did when you needed to. And we just wanted to let you know, right? We really appreciate that, because while there was disagreement, there wasn't the dirty fighting that happens with so many families on Thanksgiving.
It sounds like we have our families would probably get along very well. We're excellent in a crisis. We should have like a competition.
Yeah, family versus family. We do the Family Feud, Gina.
Oh, that's how they invented the Family Feud, right there. That's how it happened.
Oh my gosh. So Gina, thank you so much for your valuable time today. And again, enjoy your either Canadian or American version of Thanksgiving and whatever Black Friday shopping that you can do to appease.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. And I swear my life has changed forever. Give me a high five. Oh, this is that's like life changing. Honestly, you guys, this guy, like, I am, let me just say this, because I got to bow down to you. I am an excellent speaker, and I am, and you are phenomenal, right? Oh. Like, and like without you, can you imagine all the Zoom meetings? Just like, right? Yeah.
They are.
No, I'm really grateful. Thank you.
There's lots and lots of them still out there. But Gina, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate the gift here on Thanksgiving. Okay, excellent. You've been here with Gina Mollicone, and I hope you got something out of that, right? Think about that. What difference are you going to make here over Thanksgiving, whether it's in your family situation, around the world, right? All of you can make a difference around there. So I hope that you think about doing that. Speaking of which, I hope that if you're still watching here, make sure to subscribe, share, like, or comment out there. We love watching those on the replays. Here's where you can actually get the podcast here too. We're releasing an episode every Wednesday all the way through 2024. We are scheduled. So I think we're celebrating over 100 episodes of this Engaging the Virtual Meetings podcast. The other part here too, I just want to share, if you want to be the next person here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, go to this URL, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, and select interview. I just want to say happy Thanksgiving here from Seattle, Washington on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, and I hope that you have something to be thankful for. Until next time. See you next time. This is John Chen, the author of the Amazon #1 hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings. I personally want to say thank you for listening to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. It is my passion to help you eliminate bad virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so that you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast with all of the latest ideas. Hey, I want to meet you. If you want to talk about a virtual meeting challenge, or if you want to be the next guest on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, just go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet. That's ENGAGING VIRTUAL meetings.com/meet, MEET, and find your best time to meet up. Thank you, and I look forward to engaging with you online.